Hey guys, want to take a quick break to give a shout out to our newest affiliate, BetUS. BetUS is one of the pioneers in the legal online sports betting industry, providing a safe and secure place for sports wagering to more than 1 million clients.
Yeah, man, I'm actually really happy to be affiliated with BetUS. I mean, as you know, dude, we've been gambling for a long time.
Yeah, with the predictions we're making out here, man, we gotta see if we can back it up.
I gotta back
money,
that. We're gonna back it up, absolutely. Looking at their interface and how they do sports gambling in general, so hassle-free.
Dude,
it's really easy to just make a bet, whether you're doing money line props or predictions, futures. You know, who's gonna win the World Cup, for example. They make it super easy to make that bet.
If you sign up now, be sure to take advantage of their exclusive 125% sign-up bonus on your first deposit of at least $100. And if you use cryptocurrency to deposit, you can redeem a whopping 200% bonus of up to $2,500. Be sure to use the promo code JOIN125. I'll repeat that one more time. That's JOIN125. That will really help us support the channel, just keep our videos going. Make sure to gamble responsibly and have fun. We got here in Group B, we have England, USA, Iran, and potentially Wales, Scotland, or Ukraine.
Right.
I think the easy headliner for at least us here living in the States is the fact that this is a U.S. group, and they face off against England the day after Thanksgiving on Black Friday. Big bro versus little bro.
Yep.
England, who, you know, has looked down on the U.S. in the soccer context for a long time now. U.S. faced them in 2010 in South Africa, tied them 1-1. I think it's like a top 10 international rivalry right here.
Yeah.
And it's awesome that we really don't ever get it outside of a World Cup, and we got it this time around, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually very excited to see their turnout for this game in terms of like viewership and just how, you know, us living here, how it impacts the city. Like, what are the? It's gonna be like a big ass watch party for this game.
Yeah.
How are people gonna talk about the England?
The
side?
media side of it.
The media side of it.
It's gonna be so cool to
incredible
to just watch.
But it's gonna be much different this time around than in 2010 because the English team that the U.S. will be facing off against is a goddamn monster.
Elite team, top 3 in the world, most likely. I mean, you could say that pretty confidently. This English team is very good. From the back to the front, this team can perform at the highest level. Obviously, runners-up in the last Euro, make it to the semifinals in the 2018 World Cup. This is a very good team, and they've only gotten better, or at least have maintained that finalist run in the Euros. Yeah. And you know what's interesting is, let's just look at that matchup where they match up against the United States. Obviously, as a U.S. fan, as a U.S. player, even a U.S. coach, you're relishing at this opportunity to play against one of the biggest teams in the world. And, you know, we're going to play with a chip on our shoulder. We're not going to let these English players bully us, completely dominate us. But what's crazy is that I have no idea how to gauge this game because, I mean, this U.S. team, the cliche is Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde for the U.S. Sometimes they play incredible.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they look completely unrecognizable. Yeah. And the thing is, I think no matter what, the U.S. will play their best football at this tournament. The U.S. always shows up when they're there. Their 2010 performances, their 2014 performances, they played the best football that I've ever seen them play in each time. Yeah. They just show up when it comes to these tournaments. As an athlete, as an American athlete, we love these big stages. So I know the U.S. is going to perform well, but England's just so good. And this U.S. team, another big criticism for CONCACAF in general is, you know, we don't play against the best competition. I don't know how to gauge this game because it very well could be England just show up, win 2-0, dominate for the most part. U.S. get a couple counterattacks maybe, and then England just ultimately, you know, just brush us aside. Or the U.S. just come out in complete surprise. Christian Pulisic, Gio Reyna, Brandon Aronson just have the tournament of their lives and just pop off. The thing is, all that's just completely conjecture. No matter who's saying it, whether the U.S. are going to come out and play really well and beat England, like you can't trust that person because you can't. Obviously, you want to believe that. And I will be cheering for U.S. so hard in that game because, again, we just never see this type of matchup. And it's great that it's happening at such a big level. But man, anything could happen in that game.
Yeah.
Anything. And I can't wait for it. Cannot wait.
Yeah, there's always an underlying layer at any World Cup match of anything can ever happen. But some matches have that heightened even more than others.
Yeah.
This one, I think, is tailor-made for that emotion, that feeling. USA could come out just striking, bro, like a fucking cobra. Just like out of nowhere, Pulisic has a moment of
Kyle
brightness.
Walker's constantly running backwards.
Running back. Harry Maguire's fucking tripped up or some shit.
Yeah.
They take advantage, they score, and suddenly England gets shook.
Yeah.
They think about the narratives, what could happen if they lose to this team, and they don't recover from it. Or it's the complete opposite way around. England takes over. They're professional. They're diligent.
Yes.
And they just show their class. Regardless of it, it's probably going to be one of the most viewed matches here in the U.S.
Oh, dude.
I'm very excited to just see both the shit talk, but also the actual match itself. It's going to be a great way of just entertaining us, because this whole group to me is one of the most entertaining ones in the tournament. You have England, Iran, USA, Wales, Scotland, or Ukraine. Iran, who's no team to just sleep on either, had one of their best World Cup qualifying campaigns in Asia this time around. And I think we'll be seeing one of the best Iranian sides at this tournament. Yep. And, you know, what a motivation to be able to do it against a U.S. squad who we never know what will show up, and England team who will probably take care of them, but they got the quality, and maybe they can be coached and organized in a way that can maximize their abilities to go at this English team too, man.
Yeah, the way I see this Iran team is basically the same team we saw in 2018, but just better. Mm-hmm. They're better. They're just as organized, and similar to the U.S., when Iran make a World Cup, they play hard. Yeah. We saw them in 2018 where they put in an incredible performance.
One of the best, like, parking the bus teams I've seen at the World Cup. I know that they didn't really fulfill it, but man, the teams that beat them in that tournament had to beat them. Yeah, they had to earn it.
They beat Morocco, who a lot of people thought this Moroccan team was gonna just maybe really fight for that second spot, and then they lost to a worldie from Quaresma in Portugal. And then took it to Spain. Took it to them. Ultimately, like you said, couldn't fulfill it. But, man, they tried as hard as they could. The difference is now is that I just think the players are a little bit more experienced. It's a lot of the same group, and a lot of their forwards are just more experienced. Sardar Azmoun,
Jahan Bash,
the Porto striker Taremi, who's been playing at a really good level with Porto, who's been really good in the Champions League the last 2-3 years. Taremi's been a part of that for the last year and a half. So Iran's got some tools here that they can really utilize. And I think maybe not against England, because England's very, very good, but against a U.S. squad, who's like you just said, we don't know. And whether it's Wales, Scotland, or Ukraine, Iran can pull up an upset, honestly. So that'll be really interesting to see, just purely from that underdog narrative, because I think obviously Iran's probably rated to finish 4th or 3rd in this group. Yeah. But I think they can really do something special here and at least keep every game tight. Yeah. And, maybe get a classic counterattack for a parking the bus type team.
Yeah. It's tough, though, as of right now, to know the whole scope of the group because of our unknownness to whether if it's going to be Wales, Scotland, or Ukraine. All three such different teams as well. It's like, dude, there's no way for me to gauge can the U.S. actually get out of this group? Like, if Wales qualifies, I don't think they can. If it's Ukraine, they got a shot. It's very up in the air based off of these teams. Scotland could give them a run too. Yeah, I know a lot of English people want Scotland to not qualify because apparently that's the team they're most afraid of. Is Scotland. They just have they have a weird matchup. They're set up weirdly with that team that they don't want to face them on this stage. Okay. Suddenly we're looking at, it's like that 4 team is going to shift the whole scope of the group.
It could be a kryptonite for maybe one specific team. It could just ruin that run for them. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
Personally, I would love to see Wales because I enamored with what I just saw them do.
Did you see Bale's goals, man?
Bale's goals.
Oh my God, man.
Fucking iconic. That's iconic. Yeah. That's like ingrained in Welsh history now.
It's your captain, who you want to be your captain, taking over,
showing that he still has it. Yeah. He's been criticized a lot at the club level.
So much, man.
And he just goes out and does this for your squad when you guys need it the most. And Wales, who we've been so impressed with, we mentioned this before, small nation, consistency for so many years now.
Yeah.
I want them to be rewarded for that. And I think they're a very good squad. Nico Williams is a goddamn menace on those flanks, dude.
Yeah.
Running up and down.
Joe Allen, who's so experienced at
Allen,
the highest level. Classic midfielder. I love watching him play, man.
Daniel James has a little bit of flair and excitement
factor
to him.
Yeah.
I like the team, but they have to face off against the winner of Scotland, Ukraine.
Yeah.
If it's Ukraine, then you got a hell of a story behind this team.
Absolutely.
And suddenly, those games are going to be so emotional for the Ukrainian fans and for the world too, man.
That's what's just in general. You could look at the Ukraine side, but you could take this to any team. What's so iconic and beautiful about football is the international stage, because you can take a player like Bale, you can put him through just a really tough club situation year after year, especially the last 3 years, where he just hasn't been happy, hasn't been, let's say, interested in the professional side of just club football. You put him in an international jersey, though, and the story's completely different. The narrative has completely changed. And it's solely because you pair this beautiful sport with high emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah. It can kind of scary. Why is it like that? And this could be its own fucking podcast on its own. You could look at the psychological side of what is it truly about international soccer that just completely changes. It's almost a different sport. Almost. Mm-hmm. Yet it's just the same thing we know. It's the same thing we love, and that's why we're
still
so
just 22
addicted
guys
to
kicking
it.
a ball on the field.
Exactly.
But so many times a world of emotion is built around a match.
Exactly. And for that reason, I could see a team like Wales actually performing at this World Cup. Let's say they make it. Out of those three teams, honestly, I think Wales are the better team. Out of those three teams, I have Wales just as the more well-rounded side. Mm-hmm. I think Scotland maybe have more spice to them, a little bit of unknown factor to maybe they actually could win in a one-off final. And that's the thing. I think Scotland could match up well against maybe an England. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, I don't have the U.S. being much better than any of these three teams. I have the U.S. being I at least just as good. And those are going to be such fun games because ultimately you lose against England. It's these type of games where you need to win, whether the U.S. or your Wales or Scotland. Ukraine's a more possession type based squad. They like to knock the ball around, really emphasis on the midfield. So different team, just like you're saying. These are three different teams. I think Wales will do it, but I don't know. We'll see.
There's just no knowing.
And that's going to be fun we still have some pretty important games coming in June, man.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it just even more fun. How do you see the holistic view of this U.S. team performing at the World Cup, man?
At the whole tournament?
The whole tournament. What do you see?
Yeah.
What's our expectations, man? Where do we want to end up? Where are we going to say, okay, Berhalter's done an incredible job of these past 4-year World Cup cycle, and we're happy to have him on board, and we're excited for 2026 when we host the tournament. What is that marker? What would you say?
Yeah, that's a good question because a lot of people, I know a good amount of pundits are already seeing this tournament as just a stepping stone to 2026. But
fair point.
There's always that unknown factor of if this team does something special, you can suddenly just find yourself in a quarterfinal, a game away from the semis. Or you just win. You make it out of the group in second. You get lucky, win that round of 16 game. You're suddenly in a quarterfinal.
You're suddenly in the quarters.
It's about figuring out where we rank this U.S. squad, and based off of what I've seen in CONCACAF, my hesitation with this team is based off of how inconsistent they've been. They go to Costa Rica and they get blown out, man. They get defeated
against like a B+, A- squad,
and they look lost. They look lackluster.
Real quick on that game. I know a lot of people were bummed about that result, especially the American pundits who were watching the game. I get it, but I also do understand that the U.S. played their most important 2 games and got the job done before that Costa Rica side. So as a fan, even I was checked out for that Costa Rica game because I knew we were going to go through unless we lost 10-0. So going into that game, I didn't actually really care that we lost because we played 2 huge games before that. And we got the results we wanted. So I could see the players just going into Costa Rica being like, all right, well, let's just not really care about this game. And I know, obviously, as an athlete, you want to win every game. But for me, But I do see what you're saying, though. Overall, the U.S. has some scary inconsistencies.
Yeah, I mean, if that was the case, then I think that's just a sign of the mentality around this U.S. squad. I don't think that's a good
point
to go into a match like that just thinking because you qualify, you're good enough. That makes sense comparing it to their performances this whole World Cup qualifying cycle. So it is worrying because that's still the last World Cup qualifying match before the World Cup. You want to go out on a high note. It feels good. Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of way more positives to it than to just give in. But regardless, I think this U.S. squad, I might go on a hot take here, but I think the heights that this team can reach are much higher than any U.S. squad I've seen in my life.
Oh, dude, I completely
because
agree.
Of how exciting, how dynamic, and it's a different type of mix. It's like imagine like potions, you know? And the squads that we saw in 2010, 2014 were a certain type of potion. But you drink that potion, it doesn't hurt you that much.
Yeah.
This U.S. squad, because of the mix they have, the potion that they create,
more potent.
There's a chance that you drink that up and that shit fucking hurts your throat, man. Because this team, really interesting talent and factors that can play a huge role in surprising everyone and having an incredible run at this tournament. Pulisic, Aronson, Reyna,
Musa from the midfield, McKinney if he played the way he played in January,
Tyler Adams with his quality, Serginho Dest. Like the squad is actually very jam packed.
Even Anthony Robinson on the other side, man. Like
Jedi Robinson. Yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm seeing this team. I see them with a chance to do that, but also there is the other side of they could pretty easily end up in third or fourth and not make it out.
I'm just going to echo exactly what you said. This is probably the most exciting U.S. team I've ever seen. Of course, we've had the likes of, Clint Dempsey, Jermaine Jones as a destroyer midfielder, Landon Donovan, obviously.
Josie Altidore.
Honestly, actually, low-key, Altidore was pretty good for us for a while.
We can still call him up.
we could. But we've had good players in the past, like really good players. But just this mix of youth, dynamicism, aggressiveness that this squad possesses is the best I've seen. It's the most exciting, and I agree. This team could do something very, very special this World Cup. My biggest thing, and it kind of couples with that inconsistency fact, but to go along with that is for me the only test that the U.S. had was against Mexico and Canada. For the most part, yes, we lost to Costa Rica. Yes, we lost to Panama on the road. But overall, I thought our games against Costa Rica when it mattered, our games against Panama when it mattered, we brushed them aside. They didn't even hurt us. And then obviously El Salvador, Jamaica, Honduras literally did nothing to us. So I see the U.S. playing against an elite England side. I see the U.S. playing against one of the best Iranian sides that probably has ever existed. And I see the U.S. playing against a very good either Welsh, Scottish, or Ukrainian side. Yeah. All three of those teams, even if you count out England, look at those two teams, they would finish second or third in CONCACAF. Easily, I think. They would brush aside Panama, Costa Rica, Honduras. Just like the U.S. did.
For sure.
I think ultimately the U.S. just hasn't played against truly good, and when they did face against truly good opposition in Canada and Mexico, they lost points against Canada. They couldn't beat them. They couldn't beat them. They were able to get the better results of the two games against Mexico, but that's because I think Mexico's actually a worse squad. Yeah. So if you think about it, the teams that were better than Canada, they could not best them over two games. They have to play 3 huge games at this World Cup. What's interesting is that a lot of people actually have the U.S. going through, I think, pretty easily over Iran and whether it's Ukraine, Wales, Scotland. I don't. I see that scrap for second is going to be insane. Man, it's so interesting because the U.S. still could just dominate.
But
simply because they have that punching power, that striking power with Pulisic, who plays at such a high level. And Aaron said, we've already said all these good players. But I just question the opposition that they've played. And when they do play against a good side, they struggle.
Yeah, and the fact that they landed in a group with not one but 2 European teams.
Yeah, that's big, man.
Europe, man.
Yeah.
If that could have been a South American team instead, they got 2 European squads, man, and then a really good AFC squad. That's what makes me ultimately say that I don't think they'll make it out. I guess if you want to look at it, if you want to just be optimistic, if you make it out of this group, I think the team will be capable of anything by that point. Because this is a tough group. I think people are undermining how hard this group is, man.
I think so, dude.
This group is tough.
I think so. A lot of people are like, yeah, that England game, and then they're like, that's it.
That's it.
That
Iran game is not going to be easy.
Dude.
Yeah, no, I just don't see. I don't see it having that easiness to it. And so
Yeah.
to see how the U.S. performs in this setting will be very telling and was going to be talked about for the next 4 years, man. If they can make it out, I think that'll be a huge accomplishment. I will not banter this team. I will not speak badly on their name
no,
if they make it out of this group, because even if Mexico was in this group, I'd be pretty disappointed. It's tough, man.
Dude, this
It's
is a tough group. Quick prediction. Who you got? Real quick.
First place, I got England taking care of things, taking
Yeah.
control of this group. Too much quality, too much talent. Experience now, having been playing with the same players now for a while. I think they're ready for a really deep run, potentially,
Yeah.
the World Cup. So I got England winning this group. And in second place, I'm going with Wales. I think Wales gets out of here, first and foremost, of the playoffs. And I think they take care of this group. They beat the USA in that one-off game. And from then on, it's Wales, England, British teams qualifying onto the next round.
Yeah. Mine's actually the exact same. I have England topping this group. If Wales make it to this group, which I do think they will, they finish in second. What's interesting, though, if somehow Scotland or Ukraine win, I actually have the U.S. going through in second. I think the U.S. match up better against Scotland and Ukraine because they're both similar.
Yeah.
They're both pacey teams. They're both kind of dynamic in general, and I think the U.S. would strike better against them. Whereas the Wales team is just too well-rounded. So if Wales make it here, I think they'll just outdo the U.S. So, yeah, that's my prediction in general. So, England, Wales, final for Group B for me.
Yeah.